BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, it's Anna Hill here with Farming Today podcast. Today, the government plans to invest more than £2 billion in a new National Biosecurity Centre to fight animal disease and protect public health.
We will be ready for whatever the next thing is, what might be the next COVID or the next avian influenza.
We'll have more on that a little later, but we start today with the next generation of agricultural talent, whether it be farmers, foresters, land managers or agronomists. Thousands of young people will graduate from agricultural courses across the UK this summer, and all week we'll be finding out what they hope to achieve and what jobs they're looking forward to. Our reporter Howard Shannon has been to Malton College in Northamptonshire to meet 4 of its students who have all just completed their agricultural studies.
So my name is Bilal Hamilton Gould. Farming came to me through my grandfather. Just helping my grandfather, farming sheep, making hay.
My name's Lizzie. I grew up on a small farm in Leicestershire. Both my parents are farmers, with a herd of about 40 cattle and 6 of my own belted Galloways.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm not from a farming background. I'm one of the first farmers in the family.
And we're also joined by Elliot.
I've started farming about 2.5 years ago. I suppose the closest we have was my great-granddad owned a farm, and then we also have a livery yard, so like horses and stuff like that. So it's level 3 extended diploma in agriculture, so it's been for the past 2 years. So we have a theory side and a practical side, so it's from everything from livestock management to business management and everything to do with farming. On the practical side, we have 1 day a week where we go out doing lots of different things, from shearing sheep to going out drilling in the fields with the tractors.
I already knew a lot about the cattle, so I had a head start there, but I didn't know much about sheep and I didn't know anything about machinery or arable. So since coming here, I've gained loads and loads of knowledge.
Before college, all my experience was in sheep, but I've learned how to drive a tractor, I've learned how to handle cattle, but we've also done a lot of sheep, a lot of lambing, we've done some calving. It's been really rewarding. It's given me a lot more experience in agriculture as a whole.
My job prospects, future. So what I'm hoping to do after Malton College, my plan is to go to Harper Adams and try and deepen my understanding of agriculture through agriculture and crop production bachelor's honour. From there on, obviously, I want to try and become an agronomist.
There has been a few people dropping out because many people come onto the agricultural course thinking, they might not be, they're not from agriculture at all. They're thinking that the course looks quite interesting or it's something different, and they soon realise in maybe the first month, the majority of the students are from farms, and the people who aren't, they probably get quite intimidated. They don't know, and they have no existing knowledge of agriculture or any of the industry, and they do tend to just disappear and go to various other courses. They're still land-based courses. They might be equine studies or countryside management, arboriculture and things like that, but they don't tend to stay in farming because it's a lot of work, and if you don't have any knowledge, it can be very difficult.
I think currently as it stands, it's imperative that young people continue fostering a very close approach to agriculture, because without them, there is no agriculture.
Bill Gould, Elliot Ward, Katie Boardman and Lizzie Beasley there, all students at Malton College. And they get their exam results in early August. We wish them all the best. A survey by the National Farmers Union last year found that 76% of their members suffered a degree of unreliable mobile signal on their farms. Could part of the solution be private, portable 5G networks targeted purely at subscribing farms? Well, Bob Walker's been in the Cotswolds, where Virgin Media O2 have been trialling such a system. And he discovered connectivity is about a lot more than voice calls and messaging.
So now we're in the control room, and what we have in front of us is the 5G private network core. This is essentially the brains of the 5G private network. My name is Stephen Sargood. I'm with Virgin Media O2 Business and I'm the Chief Architect for 5G Private Networks. All of the sensors send data into the core network and we then forward that data onto the dashboards. And the dashboards are showing different types of data from the sensors. Some of them are measuring the water trough depths and the temperature around the water troughs. Other sensors are measuring the number of pests that are landing in a specific area. And the final set of sensors are measuring weather stations and looking at properties of the crops.
That kind of information is now available to anyone on the network who has a smartphone, a tablet?
Yes, that's correct. We install some applications either on a tablet or a smartphone, and from there you basically have the control in your hands to monitor everything on the farm as you walk around the farm.
So the challenge we have with the rural network is firstly trying to make phone calls. That is really difficult at times. But as soon as you start looking at analytical type data, you need more bandwidth. And that's when 4 and 5G networks really come into their own. My name is Jake Freestone and I am the farm manager here at Weybridge Enterprises, which is an arable and sheep farm on the Gloucestershire-Worcestershire border. We're getting some interesting data from the sensors in the local stream where we have measuring nitrate and nitrite. We have got weather and soil probe stations dotted around the farm and also insect and pest traps as well. So that will be giving us real-time in-field imagery.
So this is very specific information which helps you as a farmer, but you touched on something right at the start about simply being able to make calls. That's a big issue, isn't it, for a lot of people?
It's a huge challenge. We're about 2 kilometres from 2 different masts, and even within the farmyard you can walk 10 or 15 metres and the signal will go completely. So one of the benefits for us is with this 5G network, the private one, is that we will be able to put different SIMs in our phones and be able to connect to that when we are within the vicinity and the radius of those signals. I think this next stage on from this project could well be to open that virtual private network into a public network. The costings have yet to be fully looked at.
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the infrastructure here is not cheap to put in. It's not being looked at as a commercial venture yet. It's a case of, can we prove a case for it? And I think if we can prove that case, then they will then start to look at, well, actually, what does that cost? And how can that cost be shared? Can we work together with farmers that are close to be able to get the benefit as well, so we can share the cost amongst us.
This trial is being run by Virgin Media O2 along with the River 7 Partnership Advanced Wireless Innovation Region. That's a government-funded body set up to drive improvements in connectivity. But how much would a private network actually cost to run? Andreas Cruz is the Private Networks Director at Virgin Media O2 Business.
There is not a single answer for that. So there are a number of factors there, the size of the farm, the number of use cases that they have to deploy there, the complexity of deploying the infrastructure across the farm. But I would say that typically we see the returns of investment within the second year of the solution being installed at the farm.
Is it possible to even put a ballpark figure on it for a farm the size of this? Are we talking thousands, hundreds of thousands?
We are talking hundreds of thousands across 5-7 years. The key thing that we want to achieve with this project, the main goal, is to prove that the cost efficiencies generated by the different use cases, you can generate a positive return of investment in the second year.
Andreas Cruz there from Virgin Media O2 Business. Today is the official launch of work to create a new National Biosecurity Centre. The centre is being built on the existing Animal and Plant Health Agency site at Weybridge in Surrey. The whole project is costing between £2 and £3 billion and is expected to take until 2033 to complete. The APHA was recently criticised by the National Audit Office, which said facilities there were not adequate to prevent or cope with contiguous national animal disease outbreaks like foot and mouth and avian flu. Well, the government says it's putting that right with the upgrade, which will ensure that the threat of animal diseases, some of which could be passed to humans, are prevented or dealt with efficiently. Dr. Jenny Stewart is Senior Science Director at the APHA.
Oh, it will be amazing. At the moment, we have people who are in quite antiquated facilities, scientists, engineers, and people of all sorts of other disciplines coming together in spaces where they can be creative and share innovation and innovative approaches and techniques is massively empowering. So we'll do a few changes on the site before the main build that will help to build that sort of culture of innovation and multidisciplinary working. But the facility will definitely help us enhance that.
And what about getting the right staff? The National Audit Office said about 25% of the vet posts at the APHA remain unfilled. Do you think this new facility will help encourage more people to join?
Absolutely, and indeed keep the amazing people that we have here working with us already. The investment in the facility is really welcome and great news, but without the amazing people that will work in it and alongside of it, it will not deliver the step change that we want to see.
Now, as we've reported, the National Audit Office recently said that the UK is not ready to tackle a series of biosecurity challenges like foot and mouth or avian flu coming together, for instance. So will the new National Biosecurity Centre be ready in time, do you think, to face threats like that?
So we know that we are facing increasing numbers of threats. Obviously, the agency, the Animal and Plant Health Agency, has been responding to avian influenza now for a number of years on a seasonal basis. And for the last 18 months, we've been dealing with a concurrent outbreak of blue tongue. So we know that we can respond to outbreaks of a certain size. The NAO report rightly makes the point that once they get beyond a certain size and scale, particularly foot and mouth, because it's particularly virulent and therefore can spread really quickly, then the agency will struggle. The National Biosecurity Centre allows us to continue to respond to the diseases that we respond to today, but also we will be ready for the increasing threat that we face in coming years, which is driven by climate change and changes to the sorts of diseases that we might see coming across into the UK, and allows us also to do the research and the preparation that we need for whatever the next thing is, what might be the next COVID or the next avian influenza, because a large proportion of human diseases actually are zoonotic. They start with animals.
How will this enhanced facility improve prevention of biosecurity challenges? We've been hearing about the failure of border controls to prevent illegal imports of meat. How will this enhanced facility improve prevention?
There are three things that we really do here at the Animal and Plant Health Agency. One is we are looking ahead and we carry out surveillance, see what disease is doing in other countries and whether or not they pose a risk to the UK. Obviously, some of the diseases that we're talking about here, though, don't stop at the border. So avian influenza comes across in wild birds, and things like blue tongue and African swine fever, which is one that we're watching, they come across in mosquitoes or in midges. So we have a multi-layer, multi-prong approach that starts overseas, at the border and in country, so that we're doing all of those things to minimise the risk to the UK.
Dr. Jenny Stewart from the APHA. That's all from us this morning. I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Rebecca Rooney. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.